Writers with Purpose page turners. I'm your host, Melvese from Written Words Publishing. At Written Words Publishing, we envision a world where every storyteller, regardless of their background, has the opportunity to share their voice, shape narratives, and impact the world through the written word. Yeah, I'm wondering, I'm asking questions, and I asked her a question, and I wasn't getting no response. I'm like, well, why she not saying nothing?
I couldn't hear anything. I thought that was by design. So,
Oh my goodness. All right, page turners. Well, we had our laugh. We had our laugh for the show today, okay? And if you are laughing right now, just do me a favor and share this video, like this video, subscribe to this channel, share, because we got a really good conversation for you today. So what I was saying is I was asking the page turners if they have ever been in a season where they were praying, waiting, and wondering when God is finally going to answer. Okay, type yes in the chat if you have been there. Okay, we've all been there. And since we've all been there, we are all going to connect with the conversation that we are going to have with Camille Burgin tonight. Okay, so her book In the Gray speaks to those moments when life isn't black and white and faith is tested in the waiting. Through biblical wisdom and personal experience, she offers hope, healing, forgiveness, and encouragement when the next step isn't clear. All right. All right. And we all know that we have had to sit down and pray and then wait and trust on the Lord to answer our prayers. So, Camille, welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Melvese.
Okay. Tell the page turner something about yourself.
Well, this is my debut book. So this was my first time writing and being published. So it was an awesome experience. But I am a wife, I am a mother, I am an entrepreneur. So I own Simply Camille LLC, where we bring self-care and soul care together to heal the whole person. So we have body products as well as books that speak to your soul. And our goal is just to help you heal and to do it with grace.
Yes, heal with grace. That's what we all need, healing and grace. So tell us, what was your purpose for writing In the Gray?
Well, like you mentioned, it's In the Gray is a season that everybody goes through, whether you're a believer or not. I was reading, a statistic that talked about how much time we spend just waiting in line, waiting for coffee, waiting in traffic. And that's not even to say how much time we spend waiting on an answer. Either you've prayed or you're hoping for something or you're trying to manifest something, and it doesn't always happen in general. And it definitely doesn't always happen right away. So just being in that phase and hoping to give hope and encouragement to people who are going through it. And that was the gist. I'm like, so many people, I talk to my friends. I'm also a certified Christian mental health coach. So I talk to people about their waiting periods. And so many people are going through it. And it seems like so many more now. So I just wanted to offer hope and just some practical tips to help you during this season of waiting.
Yes. And there are many people out there who struggle with having to wait and feel like their prayers are not being answered. So how would you go about, how do you continue trusting God when his answer seems delayed, or it seems silent, or it seems like you're never going to receive the answer?
Yeah. So one of the things that the book, it really focuses on you taking an introspective look at yourself during this time. Like, what is the purpose of what I'm going through? What can I learn through this? Because a lot of times I always say they're college prayers. We're like, God, if you get me out of this, I'll never do it again. We want to rush out of the gray without actually sitting in it and learning what we can learn from it. So I think if we're looking at it that way, and this is God trying to refine us or reprove us or, teach us a lesson at how to become more like who he's called us to be, if we focus on looking at it that way versus saying, why me? It's like, why not me? Why would you not want God to deposit something in you that's going to take you to the next level? So I think it's more so about changing your perspective on how you look at your time in the gray.
Mm, mm. That is true. But what are some tips or tricks that you have for the page turners out there on what they can do to spend their time while they're waiting to actually learn or
Mhm.
see what it is that God might be trying to show them? Because a lot of people don't realize that, everything happens for a reason. Everything has a time and everything has a season, right?
Mhm.
And God often uses other people to help you achieve your goals or your purposes.
Definitely.
And
Mhm.
sometimes you just have to wait for everything to fall in line
Mhm.
before you can make your next move. But when
Right.
you're impatient or you're up against a wall or
Mhm.
you're confused, it's hard. It's hard. So
It
what
is.
tips and trips do you have for those people that need to just take that step
Yeah.
and calm
For
down
one
and wait?
thing, waiting is not complacency. It's not passive. Waiting is an active phase. So you're not just sitting on a couch waiting for God to deposit a job in your lap. No, during the time, you have to be looking at applications. You have to be searching online, calling friends. Do you know anybody that's hiring? There is always something for us to do in this time. And a lot of times we don't know that. We don't know what to do or we don't want to do anything. We just want God to, and just give us what we're asking for. But there is a role that we have to play in that. So the book consists of 10 phases. And in those phases, they're meant to go in whichever order. But one talks about just being kind to ourselves and watch what you say to yourself. And I know sometimes I can get in that spiral of talking negatively about myself. And I look up 10 minutes later and I just feel worse and my situation hasn't changed. So it's really about how you talk to yourself and to give yourself grace. When you think about, man, that was stupid. I shouldn't have done that. Or I can't believe. And then you just go on and on. Well, you're not stupid. You have the mind of Christ. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. Like there was time, effort, and thought put into creating you. And you are unique and you are meant to do the thing that only you can do. So it's like when we again phrase how we talk to ourselves, that really changes your whole mood, versus being negative. And then, so there's a lot of, there's verses, there's words in the book that teaches you when you're thinking like this. These are some things that you can say to reframe how you think about yourself. Talks about
Mhm,
forgiveness and not just forgiving other people, but forgiving yourself. A
mhm.
lot of times we're the hardest on ourselves. And
Yes,
so
that is
you can
true.
learn, yeah, if you
Yes,
can.
yes. And Dr. G.C. Taylor is watching, and she says waiting is active. That is powerful. Yes, as soon as you said that, the first thing I thought about was that scripture: faith without works is dead. You
Mhm.
cannot expect to receive your blessing without taking actions. And if you have faith, and if your faith is strong, just sitting down and waiting for God to do something without you actually taking
Mhm.
whatever action and doing whatever you can do to make it happen. And you know what I find? What I have found is you have to take action with your faith, but a lot of times what you're doing, whatever God is going to do, whatever you didn't even matter. But I believe that you had to take that action to show God that you were faithful and that you actually do want to receive this blessing so
Yeah.
that, you
Mhm.
know,
And you're
everything could.
learning in the process. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing, you're learning in the process. So whatever it is that you're doing, it is building something in you that will be used at some point later on, in your life. It's like I always tell people to keep a prayer journal because you're writing in the journal, this is what I'm praying for. Oh, God answered that. He answered that. He answered that. So months later, when something major comes up, you can go back to that and you say, but he answered this. He answered this. He answered. So that builds your faith. So as you're in this season, and you're doing whatever it is, whether it's working on you, whether it's seeking a therapist, going to counseling, looking, asking God for one, Lord, what is in me that you don't like? Show me and let's work on that. And boy, will he show you. And sometimes it's rapid fire and you're like, okay, God, okay. Like one at a time, right? Like I don't need all that at once. But in the end, you are better. And the
Mhm.
goal is for you to be better in this situation and not bitter, because a lot of people, they just want to, woe is me. All of this is happening to me and they don't do anything. So then
Mhm.
it builds a seed or a root of bitterness. And you can see that in some people now, and you trace it back, and it comes from a time when you could have been doing something, to not be that
Mhm.
way, or could identify some of those things that are causing that bitterness and work on it and not cultivate it.
That's so true. And Sherry is watching, and she said, "Yes, we need to watch our words." Just as soon as you mentioned watching what you say, I immediately thought about here goes some more, scripture, y'all.
Yeah.
Proverbs 18:21, life and death are in the power of your tongue. So whatever you say, that's what's gonna be. So you really have to be mindful of your words.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like the way the brain works. It's if you keep saying these negative things, and your brain basically filters what's coming in through a negative filter. And it's so much easier to just fall back into that negative mindset because you're so used to doing it. So you really have to break the way that you think about it. So I always tell people, because it's not easy, but the goal is to spend less time stuck in those spirals of talking negatively about yourself. So if today you did
Mhm.
it for 20 minutes and tomorrow you did it for 15, that's progress. Celebrate your wins. And eventually it'll get to the point where you can identify those thoughts, because all thoughts that come into our heads are not ours. You can identify those thoughts, and then you can change the way you look at that, or change what you're saying, and put some word on that problem. And
Mhm.
so that
Mhm.
was one of the major things in there. And that's something that you can start to do. You don't have to have any background in anything to start doing it. The book is very simplistic in its approach. So anybody can read it, and get something out of it.
Mm, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I know that with emotional healing, there's also a side of forgiveness. A lot of times, if you're going to heal emotionally, you got to deal with forgiveness. So what do you think? Why do you think forgiveness is one of the hardest parts of the healing journey? Why do you think so many people have so much trouble forgiving it, not realizing that forgiveness is actually for
It's
you?
for you. It is. It absolutely is. I think one of the things is we want somebody to pay for what they did to us. You want them to pay. You want them to feel the hurt that they caused you. And so it makes it difficult because you're focusing on them and you're not focusing on yourself. So when you can actually see it as something that's for you, it doesn't mean that you accept what they did to you. It doesn't mean you're okay with it. It means that I am not going to allow you to have this power over me anymore. I'm taking back my power. And you can forgive somebody while they're sitting in a jail cell. You don't have to be friends with them. You don't have to reconcile with them. But if you can look at yourself and say, this is for me, because this I'm being hindered in unforgiveness. Your prayers are being blocked. Because there's a verse where he said, if you come to the altar, and you have aught against your brother, go back. And that journey was a very long journey to where they were from. Ask for forgiveness, get it right, and then come back. It's a major thing. And so, and
Mm,
it takes time because there are triggers, and those triggers come, and then you're right back where you started. But the goal is also, the book talks about triggers, it talks about forgiveness, and just identifying what those triggers are, and identifying how you are physically, physiologically, what are you feeling at the time when that happens. And that helps you to kind of break down, what's causing it, what does it look like, what does it remind you of. But when you go through those steps, then you're also taking back that power. So I think
mm,
if you can focus on my healing, and God said vengeance is his. So he'll take care of that. He'll take care of whatever's going to happen to them. But we're accountable for what we do and how we act. So I think again, it's all a mindset. It's like we've been trained to think about things this way in the world, but God's system doesn't operate like that. So yeah, that I think that and pride is one of them. But if you
mm.
can turn the focus back onto yourself and think about your healing, what do I need to move forward? I think you can look at that differently, because you
Yes, yes.
probably won't ever get an apology. That's the thing. We want somebody to apologize. You may not ever get an apology, but you can't wait on that. They have to deal with that. You just deal with you and how you're being affected.
not only that, anybody can apologize, but how do you know if it was sincere?
That's
What
true.
if the apology is not sincere? What is that going to do for you? You know? Yeah, you really just have to focus on, focus on yourself. So, what are some ways that you think somebody that's been hurt or disappointed that they can, rebuild their identity and see their worth in Christ?
Yeah, that's where it starts. And that's why the workbook is good, but it starts with, who does God say that I am? If you can look at who God says you are, this is before you were even formed. He knew you, He called you. So if you're going to look at what anybody says about you, I would lean more towards the person who created you, or the one who created you. So look at Corinthians and find out, what does he say about me? I was chosen. I am loved. I am adopted into his family. Like, that says more about me than what anybody else on this planet can say about me. So I think you go back and you look at that, and then you start praying about, okay, God, how can I feel this? What can I do to get this into my spirit, to start believing what you say? But that's when you change the way you talk about yourself, because then
Hmm.
you're getting that stuff back into your spirit. You're getting in who he says about you and what he says. So
Hmm.
that is a place to start. And then you have to watch what you consume. You have to watch who you're listening to, because everybody who looks like they have your best interest at heart doesn't. So
Hmm.
I say, watch what you consume, who you listen to, what you're watching on TV, the kind of music you're listening to. All of that plays into your mood and how you feel about yourself. So sometimes you have
Hmm.
to separate yourself from everybody and everything and work on you and
Right.
rebuilding your identity through Christ.
That is so true. That is so true. Well, was there any particular chapter in the book that you felt, was difficult to write because it required you to be vulnerable? Like, was there a season in your life where you were waiting on the Lord and you had to have flashbacks just so you could write that chapter?
Listen, listen. Yes, I think, oh man, the trigger chapter for me was difficult
Mm,
because I had to research some stuff. And it's like, I had a therapist at one time, and he said, whenever you're triggered, you can't bring the person back into that trigger that you've already resolved that issue with, because that's not fair to them to always bring up, well, you did this or you said this, and you've already said it's resolved. So that was hard, because again, you want people to know how you feel. I want you to know how you made me feel. So that was difficult, but just really looking at that. And in the book, there's like some step by step things, like, really, where are you right now? What does this feel like? What does it make you think of? Like some of the things I said earlier, because they can come out of nowhere. You could just be walking down the street, the tree could blow a certain way, and bam, you having a flashback. So I think that is one, just really trying to identify, where did that come from? You know,
mhm.
and then getting back to the root of that, to then try and take that power away. Okay, if this issue is resolved, I can't continue to let this thing make me feel this kind of way. So what kind of work do I need to do? And if you need to talk, because there's some deep traumas that people have, and you may need to talk to a professional about it, and that's okay. I encourage that. I'm a coach. I'm not a psychiatrist. So there's only so many things that I can do. But yeah, so if you need to talk about that, if you need to dive deep into that trauma and write it out. Some people go to therapy and they only want to do it like the first couple times. That's when it's the hardest. So you have to
Mhm.
get past that and write it out,
Mhm.
and work on that and try and get a handle on that. So there are some
Right.
practical things to identify it, and to see where it comes from. But as far as a way to handle it, you can mitigate those circumstances. One of my friends, she had a physical reaction every time she came to a certain intersection, and she didn't
Mhm.
really know why. But every time she felt something, and come to
Oh.
find out, there was a restaurant on that corner that her ex husband used to take his female friend to. And so she had this feeling every time she came there. So for a little while, I'm like, take a different route until you can get to the point where you can drive by that place and don't even realize it's there.
Mhm.
So sometimes we have to mitigate that and go around it until we can get, up enough courage, strength, whatever you want to call it, for it just not to bother you anymore.
That is so true. That is so true. Well, you mentioned that there's different steps to reach the end result, right? So,
Mhm.
out of all the steps that you have listed out in your book, or that describe in your book, what's the one step that if they don't do nothing else, they have to make sure they do that one thing?
That I think the last chapter or one of the phases is to keep showing up, to be a superhero, be your own superhero, keep showing up for yourself. Sometimes it's difficult, and I put a lot of different things in there. So if it's for your job and you're at a point where you're like, God, get me out of here, keep showing up, keep doing a good job so you can get that reference. If it's your family and there's trials and tribulations with it, keep showing up, do what you have to do, because again, we're accountable to ourselves. I mean, we're accountable to God, we're also accountable to ourselves, but keep showing up and doing what is necessary, to meet that need,
Mhm.
until such time that God does give you a new job, and then how to keep showing up because you did it before.
Mm.
So it's like you'll get punched, you'll take blows and all of that stuff, but you keep standing up. It's like that verse: you fall down, you get back up.
So
So
true.
I think if you can just keep showing up for yourself in spite of everything that's going on, you have a chance.
Hmm.
You have a
That's
chance.
what too. I always say you have to do what you got to do so you could do what you got to do. That's all you got to do.
Indeed. Indeed. Yes. I like that.
Yes, I mean that's the bottom line. You got to do what you got to do so you can do what you got to do. That's
Yeah.
that's what you got to do. It's simple. It's easy.
True,
It's
true.
simple.
Yeah. And it's not always fun and it's not always pretty, but like you said, you got to do it because what's on the other side of that? I was saying there's this meme or this story about a gold digger, and he's in the tunnel and he's digging, digging, digging. And then he gets to this point and he turns around. He's like, I'm done. I've been waiting too long. I've been digging too long. I'm done. But if you look just a little bit further in that picture, there's just like a strip of dirt. And on the other side of that is gold. And he just walked away too fast. He
Mm,
gave up too fast.
mm,
So if you're in the gray period, it may extend for a while. It may be years. I've been in the gray for a few years now, so it may extend for years, but learn what you have to learn while you're in it. Don't give up because on the other side of that is gold. You just have to get to it
yes,
and
yes.
learn
That
the
reminds
lesson and
me of that
process.
that song. I love it. On the other side of this is a blessing. Blessing, blessing.
Uh-huh.
No matter what you're stressing or what you're going through, because on the other side of this is a blessing. That's what you got to remember. No matter
Yes.
what you're going through, on the other side of this, there is a blessing. That's what you got to stay
Yeah.
focused on for
Yeah.
sure.
And there's a blessing in it. We just have to look at it that way.
Yes, most definitely. Well, let
Mhm.
the page turners where they can go and grab a copy of In the Gray. I believe that, we have all been in that gray area. Some of
Mhm.
you page turners may be in that gray area right now. It's possible that this show just happened to pop up on your feed, on your page, on your TV, on your screen, on your phone, wherever, for a reason, because you
Mhm.
need to read this book. Let the page turners know where they can go and get In the Gray.
Yeah, so you can go to simplycamillellc.com and it pops up as soon as you get in there. Amazon has the ebook. So if that's your speed, you can get it there. But it has journal pages in it. So you're able to, you want to get something you can write in. So, but yeah, that's where you can get it. And you can get all of our other products on simplycamillellc.com as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw where you have some other products. So you have some body products. Are those like all natural products?
They're clean products. So, yes, so you can read the label and you know exactly what it is. So we don't like the chemicals like that. And that was
That's right.
part of the reason for creating it. I would go into a store and I'd flip over the lotion and I'm like, I can't even pronounce half of this stuff. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of it is carcinogenic. So, but this is
Mm-hmm.
clean stuff. Shea butter, whipped shea butters, sugar scrubs, lotion bars, face wash, beard balm for the fellas or females, however, But yes, so you can get all of that there.
Awesome, awesome. Yes, so you all go to Simply Camille LLC. She has way more to offer than just your pathway to get out of that gray area. You can get out the gray
Yes.
and feel good and smell good and look good at the same time.
Listen, self care and soul care, both of them. And we also
Ooh,
do book
awesome.
so or we also do book clubs. So if this is a book that you want to do for your book club, I can pop in on that last day and we can talk about it.
Ooh, that sounds really great. Yes, book clubs. All you book clubs out there, go out and grab In the Gray, and then you all can sit down and y'all can have a discussion. Y'all can have a healing session together, and then you all can invite Camille to come and give
Yeah,
you all some extra insight. That is awesome.
thank
Awesome. All
you.
right, all right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being a guest on Writers with Purpose. I believe that, we had a really good conversation, and I pray that you all got something out of this conversation, and be sure that you go out and grab In the Gray. Get one for yourself, get one for somebody that you know has
Mhm.
been going through something, for that friend of yours that keeps getting triggered just from seeing one little thing and can't even figure out why every time I hear this, I see this, I smell this, I taste this, I feel
Yeah,
some kind of crazy way. They need a copy of In the Gray, y'all.
they do.
I apologize, not y'all. I wasn't gonna call you or y'all anymore. Page turners. That's the audience. The page turners. All right. Well,
Hey,
yes. Well,
yes.
thank you, Camille. Thank you so much for
Thank
being a guest
you.
on Writers with Purpose. And thank you, all you page turners who are watching and who are putting comments in the chat and everything. We really appreciate you watching the show. And don't forget what I say. Go out there, like the video, follow, share, 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 share.
Share,
Sharing
share.
is caring, y'all. That's right. That's right. That's
Indeed.
right. Never know who needs to hear what we talked about today. Okay. Yes. So we are going to see you all on the next episode of Writers with Purpose. And page turners, if you are a writer, you keep writing. If you are a reader, you keep reading. And most importantly, y'all keep turning those pages. And we are going to catch you all on the next episode of Writers with Purpose. Y'all have
Bye. Thank you.